We're going to do some yoga for stress relief today. So in order to get started, we're just going to start in an easy seated posture here. You want to be seated with your legs crossed, evenly grounded on both sitting bones. Sitting nice and tall, contained through the abdomen here, no slouching. Roll the shoulders back and lengthening up through the neck and through the crown of the head to sit nice and tall. You can go ahead and blink your eyes closed to start. And just begin connecting with your breath here. Begin noticing it. Don't make any judgments or try to change it. Just become aware of it. Feeling the belly rise and fall. Noticing the breath in the nostrils. Cool on the inhale, warm on the exhale. So you begin to deepen your breath. Come to notice if you maybe have a little bit of a space at the top of the inhale or the bottom of the exhale. Try to smooth that out. Sometimes helps to imagine your breath in a figure 8 pattern in one fluid movement, inhaling and exhaling. Then on your next inhale, we'll go ahead and inhale to a count of 4. Inhale 4, then exhale 4. Inhale 4, and exhale 4. On your next inhale, we'll inhale to a count of 5. Inhale 5, and exhale 5. Inhale 5, exhale 5. Then we'll inhale 6 and exhale 6. Inhale 7 and exhale 7. Finally, we'll inhale 8 and exhale 8. Then we can release that equal breathing or Samavriti and just breathe normally. Go ahead and blink the eyes open and bring the hands down by the sides. Inhale to bring them up overhead and exhale, hands into heart center. One more time. Inhale, arms up overhead. Palms come to touch. Exhale, hands into heart center. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands into heart center. Rest here with your hands at heart center for a moment. Reconnect with your breath. Bring the hands down by the sides one more time. Inhale to bring them up overhead, and then we'll interlace the fingers at the top, flip the palms, take an inhale, and then exhale to the left. You want to keep your bicep right by your ear here. Don't collapse over to the side. Continue stretching nice and tall, feeling the stretch in the side body. Inhale back to center, and then exhale, stretch the opposite way. Inhale back to center. Go ahead and release the fingers and just roll the wrists down. From here, we're going to come to a tabletop position. So in your tabletop, you want to get nice and organized with your hands stacked under your shoulders, knees stacked under your hips, tops of your feet pressing down into the mat. You want to make sure that your wrist creases are parallel to the front edge of your yoga mat if you're using one. And then we'll start some rounds of what's called cat and cow. So it's an inhale to drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift the gaze. Exhale, pull the navel in, round the spine. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, pull the navel in, round the spine. You can move back and forth like that with your own breath. Inhaling to cow, exhaling to cat. And you can really take this for as long, if you're doing a yoga practice, as long as it feels good to you. We'll do it for a few more breaths here. You can make this more active by really lifting the tailbone and then really pulling the navel into the spine as you move through cat. And we'll come back to that neutral table position. From here, we're going to take the left leg extended along the mat, toes coming down to touch, and cross that leg over the other, and take a gentle gaze over the right shoulder here, back at the left foot. Go ahead and release that twist. Bring the knee back down, and we'll take that to the other side. So right leg extends along the mat, cross the toes over, gentle gaze over the left shoulder this time. Go ahead and come back to center. From here, we're going to tuck the toes, lift in, push into the hands, lift the hips for downward facing dog. In your down dog, you want your feet to be about hip distance apart here. Your head relaxed with your your biceps in line with your ears. Nice and strong through the back. Shoulder blades pressing together and pulling down the back. Might feel nice here to take some movement to activate the legs. You might like to pedal out here. You might like to bend both knees, push the chest back toward the thighs, lift the sitting bones. Take whatever movement feels good. Then it's an inhale to look forward, travel to the top of your mat, taking as many steps as you need to get there. If you can't get there in one step, take a couple, it's okay. We're in forward fold here, Uttanasana. And you can see in my forward fold, I don't have my knees completely straight. I've got a micro bend in my knees. My torso is actually kind of draping over my thighs here, helping me get some release in my sacrum. My head hangs heavy. I can shake it yes, shake it no. I can grab opposite elbows. I can take my fingers to my big toes. Whatever feels good here for you. This is a really good stress relieving pose, so we're going to hang out here for a little bit. From here you can release the bind if you take one. Inhale to halfway lift here to Ardha Uttanasana, hands to the shins, flat back, crown of the head facing forward. Exhale to fold. And we're going to inhale to bend into the knees, bring the arms up overhead, and exhale, hands into heart center. We're going to do a couple rounds of what are called sun breaths. So we're going to inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale to bend into the knees, come up with a flat back, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands into heart center. Do that one more time. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, bring the arms up overhead on inhale. And exhale, hands into heart center. Go ahead and blink your eyes closed. The hands at heart center. Again, reconnect with your breath here. Bring the hands down by the sides. We're going to inhale to bring the arms up overhead. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands into heart center. I'm going to flip the mat here so that I'm more in line with the camera. I'll do one more sun breath and then do some standing poses. So it's an inhale to bring the arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. From here, you want to plant the hands and step back to downward facing dog. And then from down dog, we're going to lower the knees, come back to that tabletop position. So again, wrists stacked under the shoulders here, knees stacked under the hips. And then we're going to bring the right leg through to meet the hands. Hands on either side of the front foot for low lunge prep. Just press into the hip stretch here for a moment. You want to make sure your knee tracks behind your toes. So if it's coming out, walk your foot up a little bit more. When you have a nice, steady, stable base here, it's an inhale to climb, either hands to the thighs or up overhead for low lunge. And if you need to walk your foot up, go right ahead. Relax your shoulders and soften them away from your ears if they're creeping up there. Sometimes when you're stressed, they do that. Just be here for another moment. Feel your inner thighs scissoring together here and really become aware of all the areas of your foot and your leg and your knee that are grounding into the mat or into the floor and helping you create this stable base that lifts you into the low lunge. Then bring the hands down to frame the front foot. We're going to pivot up onto that heel and kind of fold over the front leg for a little bit of a fold in our lunge. Just make sure that you're kind of containing the abdomen here. Come back up to low lunge with the foot planted. Bring the arms up. Bring them back down to frame the foot. Come back to that tabletop position, and then we'll take all that to the other side. So left leg comes through to meet the hands this time. Let yourself sit in or stay in that low lunge prep for a little bit. Drop into the hip stretch there. Usually feels pretty nice. And as you're ready, it's an inhale to climb, hands to the thighs, up overhead. Again, becoming aware of what's keeping you stable in this pose here. Inner thighs scissoring together. The back leg pushing down into the floor, engaging the glute of that back leg. Engaged through the abdomen here, lifting the arms. Relaxing and softening the shoulders. And we'll bring the hands down to frame the front foot. Come up on that heel. Fold over the front leg. Like a runner stretch here. Going to come back up into that low lunge. Woo! And if your balance gets a little iffy, that's alright. Happens to the best of us. Go ahead and bring the hands down to frame the front foot. Step up to forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands into heart center. From here, you want to parallel the feet to the short edges of your mat. So I'm going to be kind of facing sideways of the camera for now. And you want the feet to be a little bit wider than hip distance apart here, and either parallel with the edges of the mat, or your toes might actually even be slightly pigeon-toed depending on the flexibility of your ankles. You want to roll the shoulders back to get nice and tall. Take an inhale, then exhale to contain through the abdomen. Roll down with a flat back, slowly hinging at the hip here. As you get closer to the floor, release the hands, forward fold. As you get down here, if you want to widen your stance, you can. You can take different options with the arms here, maybe walking them back behind you for a little bit of a shoulder stretch, or you can walk them forward in kind of a wide-legged forward fold, or I'm sorry, like kind of like a wide-legged down dog, or just bring them down right underneath you, whatever feels good. This is another one, another pose that's good for stress relief. All yoga is good for stress relief though, really. From here, bring your hands back to your hips. We're going to roll up slowly, contained through the abdomen here with a flat back, vertebra by vertebra. So you're standing straight up. Heel toe your feet back together. Step up to the top edges of the mat. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands into heart center. From here, we're going to step back with the left foot, and we want that foot to be planted at about a 45-degree angle with the toes pointing up toward the top edge of your mat, and you're stepping back about a little more than halfway down the back of your mat, and you want to be squaring your hips as much as possible toward the front of your mat. So squaring your hips is what you're trying to do, is square your frontal hip points here. So you can see the way that I'm currently standing, my hips are squaring towards the edge of my mat. So if you need to widen your stance in order to get that squaring action going on, feel free to do that. That's super important here in where we're going with this pose, because we're going to fold over this front leg here, and if you fold with your hips kind of cockeyed, it can cause issues in your knee and hip joints, so you don't want to do that. So you want to get your hips nice and square, the frontal hip points with the front of the mat. Roll the shoulders back to get nice and tall. Take an inhale, then exhale to roll down. Fold over the front leg, and as you're ready, release the hands to the floor. If you have tight hamstrings, this can get a little intense. If you need to put some bend in the front knee, that's fine. Bring the hands back up to the hips. We're going to roll up slowly with a flat back. Step back up to the top edge of the mat. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands into heart center. From here, we'll step back with the opposite foot, so the right foot this time. Again, remembering to point the toes up toward the top edge of the mat. Create your base that allows you to square your hips toward the front edge of the mat. Roll the shoulders back to get tall. Take an inhale, exhale, fold. As you're ready, bring the hands down to frame that front foot. And here, with the back foot, you want to make sure that the back edge of the back foot is completely sealed down on the mat here. So you're not lifting your heel or lifting the back edge of that foot. It's completely sealed down on the mat. I'm not sure I ever realized how hard it is to do yoga and talk through the whole thing at the same time. When I'm teaching a yoga class, I don't only demo maybe about 10% of what we actually do. When I'm taking a yoga class, I don't talk through the whole thing at all. Alright, bring our hands back to our hips. Inhale up slowly. Step up to the top edge of the mat. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands into heart center. Do that one more time. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands here, step back to downward facing dog. From here, we're going to lower the knees, and then we're going to find a pose called child's pose. So to go to child's pose, you extend the arms, push the hips back to the heels, bring the forehead to the mat. If the forehead doesn't come all the way down to your mat, you can put a pillow under here, you can put a blanket. If you have a yoga block, you can put one, whatever you have available. And this is, you can see here, my knees are pretty much together here. So that's that version of child's pose. Or you can actually take a wide-legged variation of it, which is my favorite. Gives your torso a little bit more room. You can push the hips back to the heels with your knees separated. You have a nice space to put your torso in. Breathe into your low back here. Return to your breath. Smooth it out. And you can stay in child's pose for as long as you would like. That is one of the premier resting poses in a yoga practice, but it's also a profound stress reliever. So I recommend, especially if you're trying to do a stress relief practice, that you can take child's pose at any time, at any point throughout this practice that I put together. If you want to pause it and take child's pose for 5 or 10 breaths, feel free to do that. Your yoga practice is your own. Make it your own. Do what your body's calling for. So from child's pose, we'll come back up to that tabletop position, and we'll take a couple more rounds of cat-cow. So it's an inhale to drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, pull the navel in, round the spine. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, pull the navel in, round the spine. From here, we're going to come back to an easy seated posture. And then we're going to bring the legs straight out in front of you here. We're going to do a couple of folding, seated folds. And so you just want to make sure in these that your sitting bones are evenly grounded into the floor, into the mat. And in any of these poses, any amount of bend in your knees is perfectly acceptable. If you have tight hamstrings or anything feels uncomfortable, you can put as much bend in your knees as you need to. So we're going to start with a stretch called Paschimottanasana, which is seated forward fold. You're going to sit evenly on both sitting bones, sit up nice and tall, roll the shoulders back. Any amount of bend in your knees, I'm going to bend a little bit here. We're going for length in the spine here. So roll the shoulders back, take an inhale, and then exhale to walk yourself forward and fold. Now as you start walking yourself forward, you might want to straighten the legs a little bit more. And then I like to flip my palms here so I don't feel like I need to grab my feet and take my head down to my knees, or try to do that. But that's a personal preference. It's up to you. Just breathe into the fold here. Go ahead and flip the palms. Walk yourself back up. We're going to do a couple more folding postures. So bring the right leg in. Sole of the foot meets the thigh. We're still evenly grounded on both sitting bones here. You want to sit nice and tall and orient your torso toward the extended leg here. Strong flexion in the foot of the extended leg. Take an inhale and then exhale to fold. And this is called head to knee pose, but it's really not that important to get your head to your knee. What you're really trying to do is create length in the spine. The palms, walk yourself back up. We'll take that to the other side. So left leg comes in, sole of the foot to meet the thigh, sitting nice and tall, orienting the torso toward that extended leg, strong flexion in that extended foot. Roll the shoulders back, take an inhale, exhale, fold. yourself back up. You want to extend both legs and just windshield wipe the feet back and forth a little bit. And then come down to lying on the mat. I think I'm going to flip the mat again. Obviously not necessarily for you to flip your mat all around, but I'm just trying to move it based on what you can see on the camera. So coming down to lying on your back, hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock side to side, massaging the low back here. And as you're ready, you can bring the arms out into a T. Let the knees relax off to the left. Gaze either can be neutral, off to the left, or off to the right. Whatever feels good. Eyes closed or at a half gaze here, if that's comfortable. Bring the knees back up to center, then let them, on exhale, relax off in the other direction. Gaze either neutral, off to the left this time. Bring the knees back up to center. Go ahead and take the feet to the wide edges of the mat and just windshield wipe the knees back and forth a little bit to neutralize the spine. And then one last pose that you might like to do. Bring the knees into the chest and then inhale to bring the knees up into the air. Kind of like you're going to stamp footprints on the ceiling here. This is called Vipariti Karani, legs up the wall, or inverted action pose. And this sometimes feels good too if you take like a pillow or maybe even a blanket and stack it under your hips here for like a supported legs up the wall. That's super stress relieving. You can even do it right up against the wall in a room that you're in. Take your sacrum right up to the wall. Well, not your sacrum, kind of your bum, right up to the wall. And put your legs up there. That's a really good pose to do before bed if you're having trouble trying to fall asleep and you want to relax. Legs up the wall all day long. Go ahead and bring the knees back into the chest. Give yourself a little rock side to side one last time. And then you'll come down into your final resting pose, which is called Shavasana. And you just want to get comfortable. So even if that means you get a blanket or even a towel, fold a towel and put it under your head. And to go into Shavasana, you just lie flat on the mat. Get nice and comfortable here. Let yourself relax into the mat. Trying to release all muscular engagement. Let the feet fall off to the sides. Now, I'm not going to stay in Shavasana. What I'm going to do is sit up and walk you through a guided relaxation. But at this point in the practice, you should be lying flat on your mat. Relaxing into it. Reconnecting with your breath. Feeling the belly rise and fall. Feeling the body get heavy. Knowing the work of the practice is done. There's nothing left to do but relax. Feel yourself relax into the mat, knowing no matter how much weight or engagement you release, the floor will continue to hold and support you. Relax the crown of your head. Relax your forehead. Relax your eyes and your ears. Relax your nose and your mouth. Relax your jaw. Relax your throat. Relax your shoulders. Relax your upper arms, elbows, lower arms, wrists, hands and fingers, wrists, lower arms, elbows, upper arms. Relax your shoulders, relax your chest, relax your abdomen, relax your pelvis and pelvic floor, relax your glutes, relax your thighs and your hamstrings, relax your knees, relax your shins and your calves, relax your ankles, your feet and your toes. Now relax all these points at once, all the way up through the crown of your head. Just relax. So from this point, what you would typically do in a yoga class is, so that was a guided relaxation that I walked you through. So in a yoga class, I would typically let people stay in that pose anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much time is left. So from that point forward, when I finish the pose, or finish the guided relaxation, you would just remain in there for as long as possible, or as long as you feel like it. But a minimum of probably about 5 minutes, if you can do that. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, I hope this helps a little bit. And if there's anything else I can do, just shout. All right? Thanks. Bye.